Assist the House, sir, if I were to put the second part of that leave motion again separately for the House's consideration.
The member may do that.
Mr Speaker, I again seek leave for the House to save time now that we've tabled the answers the Minister was about to give by moving direct to question 3.
Leave is sought for that course of action. Is there any... There is objection. Question number 2, Craig Foss. Order. Order. I've called Craig Foss and I'd ask him this time. I think the Honourable David Cunliffe realises his crime there and won't do it again. Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and reads...
Order.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and reads... What reports has he received on how the economy is rebalancing towards savings and away from debt?
The Honourable Billing.
Mr Speaker, well, we've been trying to help the member because we're quite worried about his career prospects. Mr Speaker, the Reserve Bank last week issued data on household financial assets and liabilities for 2009. It showed that households are increasing their financial assets, excluding housing, by $17 billion last year, the second largest increase of the last 20 years. Also saw the debt increase by just $5 billion, the smallest increase since 2000. And the opposition, this is a sharp turnaround from the deterioration that occurred under the Labor Party, where people saved less and borrowed more.
Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Craig
Supplementary. Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary to the Minister of Finance. What trends are evident about household savings and borrowing over the past 10 years, and does he think members opposite may learn something from that?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, over the past 10 years, because of the economic mismanagement of the Labor Party, household borrowings in New Zealand went through the roof and household savings fell.
A point of order,
Mr Speaker. The last part of the Mr Foss's supplementary must have been, or I'm suggesting she was out of order when he asked the Minister what members opposite could learn from the question, and then the Minister's own answer.
Order. The member resume his seat. It's up to the Speaker to determine whether or not it was in order, and there was nothing wrong with the question asked. The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker,
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, what possible responsibility could the Minister of Finance have for what members opposite think of something?
Order. He was asked for an opinion, and he gets asked for an opinion every sitting day by members of the opposition. The Honourable Bill English.
Responsibility for.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Not responsible for.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, if the clerk might pass you the intended answer to Supplementary 3, you will see a continuation of the trend that's already occurred, where the Minister is responding to a question from his backbench by mischaracterising the policies of the opposition, for which he has no responsibility. You have previously warned him on this point, Mr Speaker, and what is intriguing to us, sir, is to find that in direct violation of your previous reading, not only is the Minister doing this, but in fact his own officials have prescripted for him a violation of your ruling.
Order. I think I've heard sufficient from the member. I'll listen carefully to the Minister's answer, and if he breaches standing orders, I'll pull him up. Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, over the last 10 years, household borrowing increased significantly, household savings dropped. And the reason for that was the economic mismanagement of the previous government. And we intend to turn that around. The Reserve Bank figures produced yesterday are evidence that that turnaround is beginning.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, how can the Minister take credit for an increase in savings when he's taking more out of New Zealanders' pockets through increasing GST, increasing tax on property feeding through into higher rents, increasing ACC levies and increasing taxes on student loans?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the member should wait for the budget to see just what is coming in and out of New Zealanders' pockets. But I'd have to point out to that member that it's the tax revenue the government collects this year is unlikely to be higher than it was last year. In fact, the total amount of taxation collected has been dropping, not rising, in case the member didn't notice.
Craig Foss.
Supplementary, Mr Speaker, to the Minister of Finance. To the Minister of Finance, how will the budget to be read this week help to rebalance the economy towards savings, investments and exports and away from debt, property speculation and unsustainable increases in government spending?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, as I've explained to the House, the government intends to, in the budget, to do a couple of things. One is to change the tax system to undo the damage done by the previous government, and the other is to bring under control the reckless and fast rise in government spending and debt, a legacy of the previous government.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Does the Minister still maintain that Thursday's budget will make tax fairer when today's Dominion Post makes clear that someone on $70,000 will get only 50 cents tax back a week, but someone on $500,000 will get up to $360 a week? And hasn't the Dominion got it right that this is a budget gift for the rich?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, no, the Dominion's got it wrong, and I'm not surprised.
Craig Foss. Craig Foss.
Supplementary to the Minister.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker.
Order.
Mr Speaker.
Order. Before the member continues to resume his seat. Member will resume his seat. And I say to the Honourable Paula Bennett, when a point of order was clearly being heard, for her to make a loud interjection across the House is not good enough for a minister. Should respect the House more. The Honourable David Cunliffe, point of order.
Mr Speaker, further to your earlier ruling, sir.
Order. Now, the member is not being helpful. Not being helpful at all. The member, I'm sure, hadn't realised that what she was doing, and I've pulled her up in a fairly pointed sort of a way, and it's very unhelpful for the member to interject further on the matter. I'll leave the matter there, though. I want to hear the point of order for the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Point of order, first,
point of order, the Honourable
I do apologise, Mr Speaker.
I thank the Honourable Member, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, further to your earlier ruling on this question where you said we should wait for the question before ruling, Supplementary 3 asks what alternative economic approach would jeopardise New Zealand's prospects, and the Minister is scripted to respond across a half a dozen dot points, which he says are the confused policy mutterings of the Labour Party.
Order. No, order. The member will resume his seat. This is not a matter of order, because I've neither heard this question asked nor the Minister's answer. Now, the member knows that is not a point of order. Craig Foss, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, supplementary to the Minister of Finance. What alternative economic approach would jeopardise New Zealand's prospects of getting on top of its debt problem?
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, coincidentally, those are exactly the words that I just read out. And Mr Speaker, I'm very happy if you wish to wait to hear the Minister's
Order. No, the member will resume his seat immediately. Order. And there will be no noise while I'm dealing with this point of order. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the supplementary question asked by Craig Foss. I want to hear the Minister's answer. The member has not raised an issue of order at all. The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, I have seen a range of propositions that are an alternative to what the government will be proposing in the budget. To put up personal taxes, to fiddle with the GST system, to borrow more and more money, to increase government spending rapidly, and to meddle with the Reserve Bank's toolkit for controlling inflation. As it happens, all of these suggestions have come from the opposition.
Point of order, the Honourable David
Mr Speaker, with a little paraphrasing, of course the Minister has given essentially the answer that he was expected to give, and as you've previously ruled, sir, he has absolutely no responsibility for the opposition, let alone the fact that these are not the opposition's policies, sir. So I would ask that for once and for all, faced with absolutely incontrovertible evidence, Mr Speaker, you would clearly rule the Minister, retrospectively at least, out of order in his previous answer.
Order. I hear what the member is saying by way of his point of order, but the interesting thing is, the Minister in his answer there did not say they were the policies of the opposition. He had said they were all issues where suggestions have been made by the opposition.